The Animal Crossing series has always meant a lot to me. Ever since I first played Animal Crossing New Leaf about 4 years ago, I've been a huge fan of the series, and I now own all 5 mainline games. So when the new Animal Crossing was announced for Switch, Animal Crossing New Horizons, at E3 2019, I was very excited. There were so many new features, like the terraforming and stuff. And on top of that, it was also the first mainline Animal Crossing in full HD, and it looked absolutely beautiful. I'm not gonna lie, even after the game first came out, that's something I can always give the game, is that it looks absolutely stunning. You have so much more freedom in this Animal Crossing, you can edit your island much more to your liking, add more different landmarks and stuff, you can even make your own lakes and little ponds and stuff with the waterscaping, I think it's called. And it's just awesome. You have so much more freedom with your abilities. I got the game around the time when it came out, and the next month and a half or so of my life was completely consumed by the game, and I didn't do much else besides do my schoolwork and then immediately go and play Animal Crossing for the rest of the day. And since then, I have amassed well over 200 hours, which quite a lot. And I go online and I see, tons of praise for the game, and that's great. Rightfully so, in fact, because I love it. It's beautiful. It's charming. It's it's an Animal Crossing game. Nice and chill. Just go in there and talk to your animal friends and stuff. The issue is, though, I see nothing but praise for the game online, at least usually. I have seen, some complaints here and there, but it's really not as widespread as the praise is. And I mean, there are some, just flat out bad game design examples that I could pinpoint about Animal Crossing New Horizons that people just don't bring up very much. And I mean, even my favorite games of all time have some bad design here and there. I'm willing to overlook it, though. But in the case of Animal Crossing New Horizons, there's just a bit more stuff. And believe me when I say, if half of these things weren't present, this video probably wouldn't exist. Yeah, I am gonna be making some New Leaf comparisons. I do think it's a better game, and no, I'm not making this video because, I have an underrated opinion, I prefer New Leaf, blah blah blah. I'm just gonna draw comparisons to New Leaf here and there, since I do think it's an overall more polished game. Then that's just my opinion, but the video is not entirely dedicated to, New Leaf comparisons. There are some just gonna be straight up normal critiques for New Horizons without even bringing up New Leaf. So yeah, without further ado, let's begin. So let's begin with my first gripe, which has to do with the crafting system. I'll preface this by saying that when crafting was first introduced, I was actually a little off-put by it. I was hoping it was going to be more of a side feature, because I was hoping for a slightly more traditional Animal Crossing experience. Not that I didn't want them to try anything new, but I was just hoping that it wouldn't be center stage. And it did end up being center stage, and I actually ended up really liking it. The crafting system is pretty awesome. You can craft a ton of furniture and stuff. You can even customize some things, change the color, add some fabrics and stuff. It's really cool, and I actually like it a lot. And they actually added some brand new things that you can craft. One of those things is fish bait, which, you make with manila clams that you find on the beach. And it's really helpful for finding some rare fish, when in the last games you would just be running around your beach for hours and stuff. I guess an example I'll give is the tuna and blue marlin in Animal Crossing New Horizons are 2 fish that can only be found by the pier, and even excluding that, they're still very rare fish. And with fish bait, in a rather short amount of time, I found both of them, and yeah, it's just very helpful for finding these fish and stuff, alleviating some of the pain that you felt in the last game while hunting for fish. The fish bait is even great for like grinding and stuff. If you really need some bells, you can just keep using the fish bait, get all the fish. There's some decently common fish like the red snapper that actually sell for quite a bit. Pretty penny, you know, all that. So what's the issue then? The issue is how you actually get that fish bait. As I said earlier, you get manila clams from the beach and then you go and craft it into fish bait, which sounds perfectly fine, but problems already arise when you realize that the manila clams do not stack until they are crafted into the fish bait, which is a little strange to me. I really don't know why they went with that. Even with my fully upgraded inventory, with all my tools in my inventory at the time, I could only get around 30 manila clams at a time. Even if I let go of my tools, I can only get 40 at a time. And I mean, they stack when you craft them in the fish bait into intervals of 10. So I mean, you could have 400 fish bait in your inventory at any given time, but they only let you carry 40 manila clams at a time. But that's not actually even the biggest issue. The biggest issue is the fact that you cannot craft multiple items at a time, which is absolutely ridiculous. Even with the spamming trick that you can do to quickly craft things, it can still take like up to like 5 minutes sometimes just to craft your fish bait, and that fish bait will probably be gone in the exact same amount of time. And I mean, it's not even really guaranteed that you're gonna get any great fish anyway, so it is just hilariously ironic that the fish bait, which is supposed to help you catch fish faster, takes a long ass time to craft in the first place. And I actually just kind of stopped using the fish bait and just went back to the old fashioned way, running around my beach, entirely dependent on the RNG, hoping that the rare fish would spawn, because I just really hate crafting that fish bait. And speaking of the crafting, let's talk about the durability system that was introduced for the tools. Let me start by asking a question. Does anyone actually like this feature? Think of a game like Minecraft. The durability system is there, but it has been there since the very beginning, and it's a staple of that game's survival mode. And on top of that, you can get the mending enchantment, which was recently added in one of the more recent updates. And while it is pretty hard to get, it is a nice reward because every bit of XP you get while holding a weapon contributes to its durability, and it gives you back some of its durability that it may have lost. And this essentially gives you an unbreakable weapon in survival mode, which is pretty cool, and it's a really nice reward. Like I said before, I mean, having to deal with, you know, replacing weapons and stuff, if you just get a bunch of mending books, you could be invincible, basically. Animal Crossing New Horizons, on the other hand, falls flat in both of these mentioned areas. Firstly, durability is not a staple of the series. I mean, there is only one Minecraft, but it is updated and all, and I mean, durability has always been there ever since survival mode was created. So, I mean, it is a staple. Animal Crossing has never had durability besides the axe, so it's very jarring, and it just really doesn't feel right. I shouldn't be punished for using my tool. Oh boy, I broke it. Let me go back. Let me go walk and buy an ugly tool and then come back. Let me go gather materials and then let me go craft. Wow, so fun. It just really lessens the feeling of freedom that you get with Animal Crossing New Horizons. Yeah, it just really doesn't do much for the experience overall anyway. I can understand it for maybe the early tools, like, you know, show your sense of progress. That's what the game is actually pretty focused on that I didn't bring up. You start basically from nothing and you build your way up to the top. And it's very satisfying, and no other Animal Crossing game is really like it, since every town is already kind of pre-established. But you establish your island yourself, you name the island, you're one of the first people to even go there, and it's really satisfying to see it grow. And, I mean, it would be nice to eventually get unbreakable tools, and I thought that was going to be the case with the golden tools, which are another staple of the Animal Crossing series. They're basically the ultimate versions of every tool, and I thought that in this game's case, again, it would make them unbreakable, but I was wrong about that. It probably seems like I'm overreacting a little bit about the whole durability system, but I really don't think so. And I really thought that the golden tools would be the solution to the issue, but it just kind of presents even more problems. They are definitely far more durable than the standard tools, but believe me when I say that they will break if you use them. They will eventually break. I had to replace my watering can and slingshot golden versions. So yeah, Nintendo basically punished me for wanting to have a garden and for popping balloons in my happy, fun children's animal game, which is honestly hilarious and is an absolute joke. Nintendo just had to ruin this series staple, and I really don't even understand why. I wouldn't even care if they kept the axe durability in, because that makes sense. And I'm all for them trying new things, but a durability system in Animal Crossing just really doesn't make sense, and it just isn't needed. The golden tools do not deserve such a fate. Believe me when I say that. And on the topic of golden tools, I should probably bring up the way that you get them. Previously, you got them for completing sections of the museum, having a perfect town, keeping that for 15 days, you would get the golden watering can. In this game, they actually improved that, and you only have to have the perfect town for a single day, which is way better than New Leaf's 15 days, and I'm very happy about that change. You also get the golden tool recipes instead of the actual golden tools, which makes sense since, you know, you're gonna have to recraft them and all, but it's fine, you know, you use golden ore, which is kind of rare, but it's fine. I eventually had a lot, so crafting the golden watering can and slingshot again wasn't too heavy a hit, but I still shouldn't have had to do it, so, you know. But back to the topic of how you get the golden tools, there's one baffling change, and that is the way that you get the golden shovel. So in previous games, you got it by completing the fossils, which is actually the one area that I did fully complete in Animal Crossing New Leaf, and I was very excited when I got that golden shovel. It is a very cool item. I think you can like dig up money in random places. It's kind of randomized, as if they were the golden glowy spots from the original Animal Crossing, and it's just very cool. It's a nice reward. And Animal Crossing New Horizons, they decided to change this by making it so you get the golden shovel after you help Gulliver 30 times. Please, someone explain this to me. I understand you use your shovel to dig up his communicator part so he can get back to his ship crew and all, but I mean, come on. What was wrong with the museum reward? It really doesn't make much sense that they changed this. And Gulliver isn't exactly the most common NPC to find in your beach, so it'll probably take quite a while to get your golden shovel. In fact, I'm not even close to getting it yet, so yeah, I've got a long ways to go. Hey guys, future self here. The planets aligned while I was getting footage for the video, and I managed to complete the fossils in New Horizons as well. And unlike New Leaf, you get literally nothing. I just thought I would bring it up. Not even a plaque or a trophy or anything. I don't really understand their thought process, but whatever. Now, I'm sure you're probably not wondering this, but what else can you find in your shore? We've already discussed Gulliver and the Manila clams. There's actually something completely new to this game that you can find in your shore, and that is the bottles that hold crafting recipes. And from what I can tell, you get one on your beach per day in a randomized spot. And yeah, this is actually a really cool new addition. It gives you, a new crafting recipe per day. Gives you something new, makes you think like, ooh, where can I use this? How can I customize this? How do I want this to look? What do I want the surrounding areas of this to look like, etc, etc, etc. So, this is gonna be one of my lesser points, I'll admit. So, I'm not gonna complain too terribly much, but the problems begin when you get a lot of crafting recipes, because after a while I just kept getting duplicate crafting recipes over and over and over. It just did not stop, and I don't really know why the game couldn't filter out ones they already had, or at least make it a far lesser chance that I would actually find them in a bottle once more. I understand that you can, give repeats to your friends if they don't have them at all. Cherry. Strangely, you actually can't put these crafting recipes in storage or anything, and it's actually the same case for some of the plants, which I really don't understand. That doesn't really make any sense, but it's really not too big an issue. But getting back to it, there's also another issue with these crafting recipe bottles, and that is that you could sometimes get a crafting recipe that requires you to have another crafting recipe, and it's just a mess. Like, I think I got some recipe, there was some requirement, the requirement was some other piece of furniture, and I just didn't have it. I couldn't make it even though I really wanted to. And it's really not fair that Nintendo gave me something that I just flat out cannot craft. They should have given me the previous one first. Yeah, again, this is one of my lesser points. I just thought I would bring it up because I haven't really heard anyone talking about this. I just think Nintendo should introduce some new filtering system that, determines which crafting recipes you shouldn't be getting. And yeah, I just kind of wish they would fix this very simple issue, and hopefully we do see a little fix in some update pretty soon. With one of my lesser points completely done, let's dive right back into the more bullshit territory. So let's talk about the dialogue in the game. One of my favorite things about the Animal Crossing series are the villagers that populate your town or island or whatever. In each game you have like 10 or so. Some games have a little more or a little less. But they have different personalities and different dialogue assigned to those personalities. And yeah, it just gives your island or town a lot more life. So it's just not you going solo and stuff. And believe me when I say that I have a lot of experience with Animal Crossing New Leaf. I've well over 300 hours in that one. Rookie numbers, I know. But all joking aside, I know how the dialogue works in that game pretty well. I very rarely saw any repeats in the dialogue. It was usually fresh, not always the most interesting dialogue in the world, quite obviously. It's an Animal Crossing game after all. But, it was always pretty fresh and new, and I really didn't see much repetition. And the complete opposite is the case with Animal Crossing New Horizons. If you have more than one villager in your town with the same personality type, let's say you like both of them, you want them both to stay, but they have the same personality type, and they just repeat the same stuff over and over and over. And even if you just had the one, like say you had one lazy villager, they'll just repeat the same stuff day after day. Like if they give you a crafting recipe, I'm pretty sure the lazy villagers always say like, don't mind the cookie grease I smudged in the corner, blah blah blah. They don't switch it up ever, and it's very boring. The dialogue was never really too interesting, as I said, in any Animal Crossing game, but it just seems like they put far less care and attention and time, most importantly, into the dialogue for Animal Crossing New Horizons. And the point in the game where this was most evident to me was during Bunny Day, or as I like to call it in this game, Bunny Week, because they extended it actually far past a week instead of just a single day. And yeah, I know I'm getting a bit off topic here for a second, moving away from dialogue for a second. You could be chopping down a tree during Bunny Week, or going fishing, trying to get some rare fish, and then you just find eggs over and over and over. Unfortunately, I don't really have footage of Bunny Day, because I'm recording this way past April. But believe me when I say, it was a nightmare. And the other aspect in which it was a nightmare was the dialogue of your villagers. They just would not stop repeating the exact same lines over and over again, regardless of their personality. I was just really hyped when Bunny Week finally ended. Again, my fan-made name for it. I ended up getting all of the Bunny Day furniture, and I actually had tons and tons more eggs just like laying around on the side extra. I know I'm getting off topic again, but yeah, I just wanted to have my little mini Bunny Day or Bunny Week rant, forgive me. But getting back to the dialogue, yeah, it's just very stale in this game. It doesn't feel like they put too much thought into it. They put way more thought into the visuals and stuff, and the game is absolutely beautiful, as I said earlier. So, that's fine. They're shifting priorities a bit, and as I said, I'm all for Nintendo trying new things. But in this game's case, one of the main parts of the game is building relationships with your islanders in this game, not villagers. And that is just completely stripped away because of a shift in priorities. Whether that's a good or bad thing is kind of up to you, but it is something that the Animal Crossing series is rather well known for, and it's something that me and a lot of other people very much enjoyed. So to see it watered down to what it is in this game is a little disappointing. And speaking of a little disappointing, let's talk about the soundtrack. And yes, I know I'm gonna get tons of hate for this, and believe me, I don't actually hate the soundtrack. In fact, I think it's pretty good, and some tracks are absolutely beautiful. I mean, listen to the shop closing theme. This sounds like something straight out of like a Pixar film. Like, damn, it is amazing. So you may be wondering what issues I actually do have with the soundtrack then, and this is really just more of a subjective thing. This is my video, so I can kind of include the points that I want, but I really don't blame you, for disagreeing with me, because this is entirely subjective. I just simply don't like the instrumentation in this game in comparison to the other ones, because I don't think it captures that same Animal Crossing feeling that the other games so strongly had. And you know what? That's fine. The game can go for something different. I mean, listen to Mario Galaxy's soundtrack. That was the very first time, and one of the only times, that Mario had a fully orchestrated soundtrack, and that soundtrack is absolutely beautiful. So that really shows that Nintendo going for something different with their musical direction can turn out actually very nice. But in New Horizons' case, it just doesn't really work out. I don't know what they were trying to go for, but, you know. I'm mainly talking about the hourly music, since that's what you're going to be hearing like 95% of the time. And actually, on the topic of the hourly music, there's something absolutely ridiculous that is a little bit, off topic, just like I was doing with the Bunny Day, or Bunny Week stuff. But the way that you unlock the hourly music, that's right, you unlock it. It takes a while. You're going to have to wait until you get the Town Hall, which I think takes around 2 weeks tops, maybe. I actually don't remember for sure, but should you really have to unlock the hourly music? Because the music that plays before you actually unlock it will drone in your head. Oh my gosh. It's really not that bad, but it really, really overstays its welcome. And if I'm being entirely honest, this theme just does nothing but irritate me now. I really have no clue what Nintendo was thinking when they made this choice. Oh boy, but I just hated it. Oh my gosh. Don't get me wrong though, there still are some good tracks for the hourly music, like 5 PM, which I'll play right now. Really though, like I said earlier, the rest of it just sounds really off to me. It just doesn't capture that Animal Crossing magic like the other ones did. Some of you may think that I'm crazy for saying this, but really just take a listen. Maybe I could prove my point to you guys. I'll do some comparisons with tracks from the older games, and maybe you guys will understand what I mean. just doesn't sound like true Animal Crossing music. Do you guys remember those like fan-made Animal Crossing soundtracks for like, oh, Animal Crossing Switch, you know, all that stuff? They were actually really good for fan-made tracks, but they didn't exactly sound like true Animal Crossing soundtracks, if that makes sense. It just doesn't capture the same feel. Believe me, the New Horizons OST and those fan-made ones are still good, but both just run into problems when you really listen to the other tracks from the older games. It just doesn't sound right. Now, this probably it won't be something that they fix in updates, obviously, and that's fine. The hourly music is still pretty good. I can definitely tolerate it. It just does not really sound like Animal Crossing music, if you'd ask me. My next gripe is actually one that I have actually heard people talking about, and it is the cut content. Now, I'm sure all of you knew this was coming, and yeah, there's just tons of cut content, specifically from Animal Crossing New Leaf. We actually recently got the diving back from that game in a free update, which is awesome. But the question is, should we have waited longer for them to include all of these older features, and then they would release the game? In my opinion, yes. They shouldn't be slowly trickling out these old features that we've already seen before. They should be introducing new things. And if we had to wait a little longer just to get these older features in the game, I really wouldn't have minded it. I really miss Brewster and the cafe. I miss Shrunk and his jokes and stuff. I know we get the emotions the new way from our islanders and stuff, but I still would have loved to see Shrunk in the game. There's also Katrina and like Wendell and stuff. All of these characters just really brought the Animal Crossing series to life because it really represented tons and tons of different types of people, be it a cafe owner or a comedian, yada yada yada. One exclusion that's pretty upsetting are the island minigames from New Leaf. These were really fun in multiplayer, just playing around, doing some island minigames and stuff with your friends. There was one where there's like whack-a-mole, you're running around trying to hit this robot. There's this one where you're just like popping balloons and stuff. It's just plain Animal Crossing fun. The multiplayer in this game still is fun, messing around with your friends and stuff, but it feels kind of bare bones and lackluster in comparison to the previous installment. However, the most baffling exclusion is the lack of gyroids. Now, I know there is Lloyd, the gyroid, who is there. You know, you could donate to him for the bridges and the ramps and stuff. But I mean, in the older games, you dug up gyroids from the ground as well. I mean, in the first game, you even saved with a gyroid. I don't really know why they're not here. They're just an absolute staple of the series, even more so than the golden tools and stuff. It just really makes no sense, and I feel like they'll probably be back in an update like, how could you leave out the gyroids, right? But yeah, anyway, I just really want Gracie Grace and like the cafe and stuff back in future updates. It would be really nice, because I really miss that stuff. However, I still would have been willing to wait a bit longer just for them to be added in time for release date. My next and final complaint is a big one. In fact, it's easily the biggest complaint I'll have throughout this entire analysis video. This whole complaint brings up the idea of player choice and how Nintendo decided to punish me because of what I chose. Believe me when I say that when I unlocked a new item or something, I was absolutely stoked. Be it the vaulting pole or the ladder or terraforming or something. It's all awesome. It lets you explore your island in different ways, make different things on your island. Just personalize it, edit it to your liking, all that type of stuff. It's awesome. And one of the things that I was most excited for is the path making in this game. Because in New Leaf, you would have to take patterns from like online, or you made it yourself or whatever, and you would have to place it on the ground manually for a few hours to make your own path. And even then, some tiles you just couldn't place it on, like the tile in front of people's doors, so you had to like go one in front of it. It was just not made with a path system in mind. So to finally see an in-game path system in Animal Crossing is amazing. I was so excited for it. You can have like different types of paths and stuff, like the stone and like brick and stuff. I use different types of paths for like different like one-off areas. Like I have some carnival, I have some campsite. But for my main path to connect all the houses, I used a dirt path. And I did this to give my town like a more old-timey feel. Like my ramps were wooden, my bridges were wooden. I wanted to match that like brown type of color. I thought it looked really nice. And I still think it looks really nice. It actually took way less time to make my path in New Horizons than it did in New Leaf, just because of how much more intuitive the path making system is. It's really, really convenient. It still can take a while, but believe me when I say it'll take far less time than it did in New Leaf. What I also did in New Leaf was put little flowers on the sides of my paths, because I thought it looked nice, and in my New Leaf town, virtually every single tile is filled up, and most of them are filled by flowers and stuff. And it looks very nice. I'm very proud of how my town looks in that game, and I'll never change how it looks. And I wanted to bring over that same kind of aesthetic to my New Horizons town. So I planted flowers all across the sides of my paths, and it looked even better. My town looked very, very presentable, and I was beginning to get really, really proud of it. This goes back to the idea of player choice, because, you know, I chose that dirt path and I chose to have flowers on the sides, and everything was working out all fine so far. This was until it rained. The next day, I came onto my island to find my dirt paths completely overrun by tons of flowers. Obviously, not every tile was covered, but I had to dig up at least like 30-40 flowers. It was very, very tedious, and every time it rains, I have to deal with this. I do a daily routine where I go and get the money rock, get the fossils, blah blah blah, you know, go talk to my islanders, maybe get some items from them. So my inventory is pretty filled up, so having to carry around flowers, digging them up just to make my town look, you know, normal again. I usually don't even have inventory space. I have to go to the shop back and forth and sell the flowers, go get more flowers, sell the flowers, you know. Now, I already know what some of you Animal Crossing pros may be thinking. You can take a blank design path and plaster it all over your dirt path so that flowers don't grow on it. Do you realize how long that would take? That would take just as long as making the standard path in New Leaf. So if you want a dirt path to go around your entire town without flowers growing on it, it's gonna take even longer than to make a normal path in New Leaf. That is not okay. That's unacceptable. I shouldn't have to pick flowers for my dirt path just because I think it looks nice. I should not be punished for my choice. Nintendo should allow freedom in their game. That's kind of what the game is all about, so it's very ironic. They added way more freedom in the things that you could do to customize your island, like terraforming and stuff. And then they just go ahead and completely ruin it. Nintendo punished me because of my choice. If at this point you're still watching the video, you may get the impression that I hate this game, yet you couldn't be any further from the truth. I still really love this game. In fact, I love the entire Animal Crossing series quite a lot. As I said earlier, it's always been one of my favorites. And I mean, in fact, the entire cut content section that I had in this video, it will probably be outdated at some point, at least in some shape or form, but I'm getting off track. I completely understand that New Leaf isn't really as expansive and like open as New Horizons is or will ever be or whatever. But it's just a far more special game to me on a personal level. I've played both extensively, but you know, there's just something about my little town of Starview in New Leaf that is just irreplaceable. But getting back to the entire series as a whole, again, I'll always love it. Don't take this the wrong way. I don't hate New Horizons. I still love it. I just wish that a lot of these issues could be fixed so that New Horizons could become the definitive Animal Crossing experience. Thank you all for watching the video. I spent a lot of time working on it. It's actually been a while since I've made a video. I would also like to say that I apologize for the way that the New Leaf and like WoW World footage was presented. I'm just not dropping like $500 on a 3DS capture card. But you know, I digress. Thank you guys for watching. It's been real fun making this video, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.